exertion and pliancy. Then with regard to forgetfulness, you need mindfulness, right? Introspection and mindfulness. Mindfulness basically means, oh, I want to focus on the breath. I'm thinking about dinner. Introspection tells you, oh, you're thinking of dinner. I'm thinking of dinner. Mindfulness tells you, go back to the object. Okay? So, you keep breathing, you could focus on the breath, all right? And then the mind goes off again, you forget the object. Goes off and thinks about tomorrow. Introspection checks, what am I doing? Kind of looking inward with introspection. And then mindfulness is like going back to the object. That's what mindfulness does. So the Tibetan word mindfulness actually means to remember. It actually literally means to remember. So to remember to be in the present, to remember to be, it's always like bringing back the mind, to stay in the moment, stay with the breathing in this case, right? But of course it means a little more than just remembering. But that's the etymology, the meaning of the word itself. Of course the meaning of what it refers to is much vaster than that. Attentiveness, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah. Attentiveness, alertness, and bringing the mind back. Okay. So mindfulness and introspection are the antidotes to forgetfulness. All right. And then what are the other ones? Laxity. Okay. Well, laxity and excitement. You have those two, laxity and excitement. Again, mindfulness and introspection allow you to, introspection allows you to recognize them. And then you have to apply antidotes. So the next is then applying antidotes. Applying antidotes to excitement. So that's another of those antidotes, is applying antidotes. Sounds bizarre. So, okay, just to remind you, faith, aspiration, exertion, pliancy, mindfulness, introspection, applying the antidotes when necessary. All right, so when the mind is dull, you have to heighten it, you have to bring it up again. Your object of meditation, you make it brighter than it is. You visualize bright light, for instance. If that doesn't help, you get the mind motivated to think, oh, I have a precious human rebirth. I'm so fortunate, I'm so lucky, right? It gets you out of that dull state. Love, compassion, possibly if that gets you invigorated, if your mind gets more clarity. So basically just get you out of that dullness with some good news, as in like precious human rebirth, right? So lucky to have this body, this opportunity. Think of the clear light nature of the mind. If you have that knowledge, that would help. Excitement, on the other hand, you have to bring the mind down, right? Become more focused, have more stability, more intensity. So that would be, it would be helpful to think of death, for instance. Oh, like we're like I'm gonna die one day. So what is there to be excited about? So excitement has this kind of like, whoa. So you just reflect upon the fact that I'm impermanent. I have to die one day. Brings the mind a little bit down. It kind of brings it down again a little bit. So that would be one option. What else could you do? That's usually kind of the explanation that's given, like reflect upon something that brings your mind down. Or like it's attachment and desire, right? Attachment and desire, they are responsible for excitement. So whatever helps to get down that attachment and desire. All right? Okay. So that's the seventh, applying the antidotes when necessary. And then you reach a state where your concentration is so good on the 9th level, not yet calm abiding, but on the 9th level, you don't have any laxity, you have no excitement, but you would like to apply the antidotes, right? Because you're so used to applying them, now you need to refrain, you need to desist, you need to refrain from applying the antidotes. It's called equanimity. There's usually equanimity, there are 3 types of equanimity actually. One equanimity is like not feeling happy, not feeling unhappy, being like a neutral feeling. The Tibetan word is dangyong, which kind of means a balanced state or equanimity. And then you have the equanimity, you've all heard of it, feeling more equal towards other people, right? Equanimity in terms of not being over attached, not being over averse. That's kind of equanimity. equanimity. And then there's this equanimity here, where you don't need to, where you refrain from applying the antidotes to excitement and laxity because you don't have them. So don't apply the antidotes, because if you do apply the antidotes, you get it. If you apply the antidote to dullness, without having dullness, you become excited, right? If you apply excitement, if you don't have excitement, you apply the antidote, you become dull. So that would be the problem. Therefore, there are these 8 antidotes. Do I need to go through them again? Probably not, right? Should I?
Could you say the word of mindfulness in Tibetan? What is the word?
Tenshe. Tenshe.
Tenshe.
Tenshe. Tenshe. Ten means to remember. She means consciousness.
It's amazing because
Temba.
just if you are if you are minded to the moment, then you can remember. If you're not minded, you cannot remember what just happened. So it's amazing.
Right, there's this connection, yeah, because like being in the moment, but we forget to be in the moment. So mindfulness is that mental factor that allows us to be in the moment. Okay. All right. Anyway, so 8 antidotes. Faith, in the conviction, in the faith of conviction in this practice, in the qualities of this practice. Aspiration to attain karma abiding, exertion, pliancy, mindfulness, introspection, applying the antidotes when necessary, not applying them when not necessary. Those are the 8 antidotes. Okay. So the first three are important at the beginning, right? Because laziness and forgetfulness, those are our main problems in the beginning. So level 1 to level 3, and I'll say it one more time when we go through it, then it becomes clear. So please remind me to go through them again. Just to tell you in the beginning, the first level to the 3rd level, you need the antidote to forgetfulness and laziness. That's the main obstacle. And then mindfulness and introspection you need from the 4th to the 8th level. Then you need mindfulness and introspection. And then equanimity you need at the end, 9th level. Equanimity as in like refraining from applying the antidotes. The application of antidotes you need from the 1st to the 8th level. And pliancy is important on each level. Now, right now that doesn't make sense to you. Once we've gone through them and I do it again, you've understood the levels and you see how it makes sense. But just to start it off with it, and please remind me to highlight it, to go through them one more time once we've gone through them. All right, so let's start with the different levels. What is the first level? The first level is called placing the mind, or setting the mind. Setting the mind, placing the mind. Setting the mind on what? Placing the mind on what? On the object. Okay, so you place the object, place the mind on the object. So you have learned about the practice, you've understood it, you're motivated to engage in it, you've done all the preparatory practice. So now you try to draw the mind inside, get it on your breathing. I keep using the breath because it's easiest to explain. So you focus on the breathing, okay, and you try to keep the mind on the object. But, of course, you're not able to do so, right? It's the first level, very difficult. And thoughts, they arise like a waterfall. Keep coming and coming and coming, right? Sounds familiar? Right, keep coming and coming. So it even seems that we have more thoughts than usual. But it's only because we start looking at them, we just notice them. We notice our thoughts more. So that's the first level, the first of the 9 levels. Okay. So, basically you start off with this level. I'll explain later. Some people, if they don't have strong forgetfulness and strong laziness, they can actually jump that level. It's possible.
Take it out. תורידו את זה פשוט. תורידו את זה.
Interesting how it started doing its thing.
It's a fairy music, like.
There's exertion. There's like going on. Okay.
She said this is the right music for the lecture.
Everything is connected now.
Right. Okay. Anyway, so the first level, placing the mind. That's the first. So just not being able to do it. And what are the main issues there? Well, the main issue are laziness and forgetting the object. So it's a problem at that moment. Because of laziness, I mean, of course, on one hand, we're doing the practice, but then again, the mind goes here, the mind goes there. You know, laziness is part of it. Possibly thinking of actions we want to do, like I want to stitch my trousers, or I want to beat up my neighbor, they're making a lot of noise, I'm meditating, for instance, right? So, kind of reflecting upon the things we like to do as an example. And forgetfulness, therefore, we forget the object again and again and again. All right, so what do we need to do? Again, motivate ourselves through having conviction in the qualities of karma abiding, generating the strong aspiration to attain it. What else? Exertion, making an effort, right? Which leads to a kind of serviceability of the mind, pliancy, and so we can continue doing it. What do we need for forgetfulness? Mindfulness. Very good. Introspection, of course, to become aware of it, and mindfulness. Great. Then the second level is, and of course, we also have laxity and excitement, absolutely, but those are our least problem. They're not even, they're like a lesser problem. Our real problem is forgetfulness and laziness. Okay.
But they forget the object because of excitement, right?
Yes.
Sometimes they go, oh, there is a sale, and
right.
Black Friday.
Right.
So,
but the thing is, like later on, you reach a level where you have no forgetfulness, but you still have excitement. So the mind is too excited. So you can keep on the object, but it's not just about keeping the mind on the object, it's the quality, the intensity and the stability and the clarity of the mind that then becomes important. So throughout the first three levels, and I first go through them and I'll say this, but through the first three levels, you're just trying to get the mind on the object. From the fourth level onwards, you try to keep it there. And you do keep it there, but the mind has a hard time in terms of clarity, etc. Anyway, placing the mind, I guess, is clear. Then continuous placing, continuously setting the mind. That means that now you apply mindfulness. You apply mindfulness more than you did during the first stage. And so you apply it so strongly that distractions cannot cause the same interference that they caused during the first level. Okay? So you're able to lengthen the time a little bit when you can stay on the object. Okay? So previously it was like second or two, gone. Second or two, gone. Okay? Maybe 5 seconds, gone. But now your mindfulness, because you forget the object again and again, has become stronger, so strong, okay? Has become so strong that now maybe 10 seconds, 12 seconds, and then you lose it. Mm-hmm. So your forgetfulness is stronger than your attention, that's for sure. But there's already a change in terms of the previous moment where it was like object gone, object gone, object gone. So some of you may already be on the second level, who knows, if you've done this long enough, right? It's not impossible. Doesn't seem impossible. When you come to the 9th, oh, it seems pretty impossible, but this, no. So it's called continuous setting the mind, continuous placing the mind, setting or placing on the object. Then the next one is repeatedly placing the mind. So the first one is just trying to continue to do it. Now you bring it back again and again and again. But here you can recognize distractions immediately through even more mindfulness. So you see, before, when you continuously set the mind or just place the mind, first and second level, you sometimes don't notice. You don't notice. So you're like off to, I don't know how many seconds, right? Oh, I'm meditating. And you bring it back. Sounds familiar? Mm-hmm. Right? So during this level, right away you realize, oh, mind is gone. So you lose the object, it's gone. Right away bring it back. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's almost like I don't know, if you take a dog, for instance, you have this dog and it keeps running away all the time. That's the first level. And the second level, it runs away, but you can hold it for some time. The third level, it escapes and right away you grab it. You see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is already a huge advancement, right? It's like, it's not that easy to get to the third state. It's not that easy. It's only the third stage. Should we wait with questions, or is it? Yeah.
What's the name of the third?
The third is the repeatedly placing the mind. First you have placing the mind, continuously placing the mind, repeatedly placing the mind. Okay. So, as already mentioned before, so the main problem of those first three levels are forgetfulness and laziness. Okay. Those are the main problems. But, like I said, laxity and excitement are also a problem, absolutely. But they're a lesser problem. We have to first deal with the first two. So, as I said, you work on getting the mind on the object, not on keeping it on the object. It's like getting it on there, and then it goes. Okay. So now what else you need to do is that if laziness and forgetfulness, if you cannot really overcome them at this level, you need to start to analyze why. Because what happens, it's very interesting, that why do you need to analyze? You need to check which afflictive emotions, which affliction is giving you a hard time. Because one of the afflictions is giving you a hard time, that's for sure. Which then leads to forgetfulness, etc. Now, usually we have an affliction that is dominant in our continuum. Maybe anger, maybe resentment, aversion, jealousy, envy, attachment. One of those is dominant. But we don't know because we're so distracted. We're so distracted, we don't even know which one is the dominant one. In most cases, we're not really fully aware. Or we may be aware, of course, but then we reduce it and we think, oh, I don't have a dominant one. And then when we do the meditation, stabilizing the mind, suddenly this comes really strong. I cannot stop thinking of my neighbor and imagining I'm kicking him in the butt. Right, as an example. Right? Now you've got the presence of mind, you're much more focused during the third level, right? You can always bring back the mind right away. And now, envy, for instance, if it's not aversion, maybe envy pops up again and again. Again and again. So this you need to analyze now. First of all, become aware which affliction is keeping you from staying concentrated. And then apply the antidote, of course. So you leave your meditative practice. You need to, because otherwise you won't be able to progress. If you have aversion, meditate on love again and again and again. If you have envy, if you suffer from jealousy and envy, rejoicing. Well, think about the impermanent nature of the thing you're jealous of, that it doesn't really exist in and of itself, and rejoice that the other person has it. Feel really happy for them. Okay? So there's certain antidotes to all of them, and you need to now apply them through analytical meditation until this particular affliction is not keeping you from continuing on your practice. So laziness and forgetfulness, in particular forgetfulness, this particular affliction will will enhance your forgetfulness, and your mindfulness will not be able to cope with it. So very important at that time. People get stuck there easily. Then there's the next level. Once you've done that, once you've kind of set aside calm abiding, you've overcome, you've reduced, not overcome, but you have reduced this particular affliction that you have a problem with. Now you need to go back to the meditation, one focus, single-pointed focus. And now, through the strong force, at some point you reach this next level, which is called close placement. Close, like close is like near, near, like near.
Yes. Try to find the words in Hebrew.
Yeah, please find the word in Hebrew. Like close placement. Now your attention is so close to the object, you no longer lose the object. Right? Let's make sure the word is understood first. So close placement. Yes.
Uno momento.
Yeah, uno momento.
Right, taking from a Boaz article about the 9 points.
Okay, great. Yeah, maybe keep it open for other words.
We're talking about the fourth one, right?
We're talking about the fourth one, yeah.
Yes. Just a minute. השלב הרביעי נקרא עיצוב קרוב. עיצוב קרוב, עיצוב מהמילה לייצב, מהסטביליטי, קרוב is near. עיצוב מהמילה יציב. אני אשלח לכם אחר כך את המאמר הזה.
So the word in Tibetan is actually to place the mind, but never mind, I mean stability works too, that's what it really means. Do you want to go through the first four? Do you think it's necessary to read the first four? First four?
All?
Yeah.
You want me to write? Okay.
Maybe just for the sake of clarity.
Yeah, okay, no problem. השלב הראשון נקרא עיצוב. השלב השני, אני אשלח לכם את המאמר הזה לכל מי שהגיע. השלב השני נקרא איסוף, gathering ועיצוב, gathering and stability. איסוף.
Not continuous? Not continuous?
איסוף ועיצוב. This is what...
Okay, never mind. Never mind.
This is what Buzz wrote. And...
Repeatedly?
עיצוב ברציפות. The third one is stability, repeatedly stability.
That's the same. Okay. Alright, great. Now, the mindfulness has become so strong, your mindfulness becomes so strong, you no longer lose the object. Yeah. So the mind remains on the breath, for instance. From now on, the object does not get lost, so no longer other thoughts arise. So that's a big advancement. But the quality is still missing. Because without losing the object, we're still bothered, we're still obstructed by strong laxity and excitement. Okay, strong laxity and excitement. So they bothered us before, but previously we were too busy with counteracting laziness and forgetfulness. Alright, so laziness and forgetfulness, they can arise, but they're immediately removed. So you don't lose the object. They can arise still, but immediately they're removed. So it's really laxity on one hand, excitement on the other hand. That's what we need to deal with now. From within, holding on to the object. So, of the two, laxity and excitement, which one do you think would be stronger?
Excitement.
Laxity.
Who thinks laxity? Why? Why?
Because you're in a state of meditation and it puts you already a little bit calmer, so you get a little bit down there.
Okay, what do you think?
I think the same. I think it's harder to recognize it. That you slip
Okay.
over to laxity. Excitement is, I feel it's easier. Might be easier.
Might be easier, but excitement also, it's not the coarse scatteredness, because that's gone now, right? Actually, that which is easier to recognize should be recognized first, because as you advance, right? But actually it's laxity. It is laxity. They say it's laxity because this kind of excitement is just a subtle form. Okay, so it's not what we think, like it's not the coarse scatteredness. So it's actually laxity gives you a harder time here. But of course, I mean, I'm following the text, the traditional Tibetan texts here on this. There may of course be slightly different explanation because maybe people had different experiences. I cannot say that this is like every explanation is the same. This is the traditional explanation that is given by meditators that had that experience. And it's said to be taught by the Buddha, but sometimes the Buddha taught things differently, so who knows. So laxity and excitement, the main problem is laxity because the mind is now strongly withdrawn inside. Okay? Because you strongly withdraw the mind inside, you're holding it so strongly, and the stronger you withdraw it inside, the stronger this kind of mental sinking. Alright, now, again, the question that may arise, so now laxity is stronger, But what is the difference between lethargy and laxity? Like when you get like tired and sleepy during the teachings, that is not the same thing. Very important. Okay, so lethargic doesn't mean, like lethargic is like when you're like, right, can hardly concentrate. It's not that type. The mind is just slightly dull. Okay, and there are actually different levels described in terms of like a coarser type, a subtler type, and a very subtle type. There are four factors are given which are important in terms of this laxity. One is a factor of stability. So if you're lax, if your mind is lax, the mind is not stable. Okay, it lacks a certain degree of stability. Then there's the factor of clarity from the side of the mind, the subjective clarity, as in like a mind always has an object, right? Mind always has an object. So when you meditate, when you focus on the breathing, the mind is the focusing mind, the object is the breath. You need to have a sense of clarity for both. The mind needs to be clear, but the object needs to also be clear. Am I making sense? Mm-hmm. So, what you need is a subjective clarity. The mind needs to have a sense of clarity and brightness. Right? I mean, you can test that. If you think of something in the past and it appears brightly versus dully, you know the difference. So the mind here needs to have, the mind itself needs to have a brightness to it. That is the subjective clarity. And then there's just the factor of clarity where both the mind and the object needs to appear clear, needs to appear clearly, and the mind needs to have clarity itself, a sense of heightened clarity. Okay? It's a little hard to think of the mind having clarity. We don't focus so much on the mind, but the mind is kind of clear, crisp. So it's stable, and the mind being crisp and clear, and mind and body, mind and object both being clear, and lastly, intensity. Those are four factors. Stability, the mind being crisp and clear, both mind and object being crisp and clear, that's the third, and the fourth is intensity. So the first one is called stability, the second is called subjective clarity, the third one is called just clarity, because it includes the mind and the object, and the last is called intensity. Does that make sense? Stable and intense. Stable means... Okay. Intense means powerful, like strong. So there are different...
Intensive. We use this word also in Hebrew.
Intensivia.
Intensive.
Intensivia. So you have these great words, conventional. It's all like... I hear those words. It sounds so similar. Okay, anyway. So there are different types of laxity. There's coarser types, there's subtle types, there's very subtle types. So again, I don't need to go into all the details, it gets too complicated, but you can imagine that if you deal with laxity, then there are of course stronger ones and not that strong and subtler types. So here, just for your information, so the mind, if there's subjective clarity but there's not enough stability, for instance, that could be a coarser type of laxity, as an example. Or the first three, factor of stability, factor of subjective clarity, and clarity of both subject and object, they're there. But the last one, intensity, is missing. That would be slightly subtler. And then the subtlest would be all four are there, but there's a slight fall with the stability. Does that make sense? Slight fall with the stability. So, of course, when I just go through them right now, you don't have them in front of you, it doesn't make that much sense. And that's not the part you need to remember. This is for you to know, there are more details on these different levels, and of course you get to recognize them as you do it. Okay. So, but going back to close placement. So, what does it mean? As I said before, laxity is your main problem. Excitement is a problem, but laxity is worse. Excitement as in like... so excitement is there, of course, but it's a subtler form, but coarse laxity, that's the main issue here. So you don't lose the object, and you apply the antidote to laxity, which is like making the mind brighter. All right, does that make sense so far? And then it says, well, there are some people, it says in the scriptures that there are some people who don't have the obstacles to the first 3 levels to the same degree as others have. So you may be able to go from the first level, never have the first level, go right into the second level. Because you lack the forgetfulness or the kind of laziness that serves as an obstacle here, mainly forgetfulness, you don't have it. So some people can do it. Why would you be able to do it? Well, from a Buddhist point of view, you practiced it, possibly in a previous life, and so therefore you're good at it. Okay? So whatever the reason, never mind, some people are just better at it, so you don't need to go through the first level. Some people can go right to the 3rd level. Okay? So don't have to progress from the 1st to the 2nd to the 3rd. But there doesn't seem to be any suggestion that you go right into the 4th. 3rd level possible, 4th probably you need to always practice. Unless you have already developed karma binding in a previous life. Okay, that's different. But maybe implied by that is that even if you haven't practiced in the past, some people just don't have forgetfulness to the same degree. It could also be that you just, in this lifetime you're more mindful and so you have less forgetfulness. That could also be a reason. Okay, so that's 1st to 4th. Does anyone want to repeat them? No, well, anyway, okay. The next one is disciplining or subduing. Some people use the translation disciplining, some people use the word subduing. What's the word there?
Iluf. He's using iluf is more like taming.
Taming.
Same.
Taming or subduing, yeah.
Iluf.
Iluf. Taming the mind basically means like
שלחתי לכם את התרגום של בועז, הוא די שולט בחומר, אז אילוף זה משהו תרגם.
Is that okay?
Taming.
Yeah, taming, kind of taming. Okay, taming the mind. It just says taming, but what it means is the mind. Okay, that's just the name. So, now your introspection has become stronger. And now through your own experience, you recognize the advantages of meditative stability. You don't yet know it, but you know through your own experience that karma binding is great, but meditative stability, you have already a certain degree of meditative stability. Now through your own experience, you know this. You know the advantages. That gets you really motivated, of course, obviously. You really can see the difference in your life, basically. And now course laxity can no longer arise. The course of form can no longer arise. But because of your strong withdrawal of the mind, you need to now apply the remedy to subtler laxity, to subtler form of laxity. Okay? But you're usually able, if you're able to do this, you can, in this one meditative session, when you reach disciplining the mind, when you reach that level, in the same session you can move on to pacifying, the next level. So there's like a quick kind of progression from subduing the mind to pacifying the mind. So previously, 1, 2, and 3, that was slow. Going from 3 to 4 may take a while, obviously, because from 4 onwards you never lose the object again. But now you can move on to subduing the mind, which means course laxity is not a problem, only subtle one. And once you're able to deal with this, then within that same session you can move on to pacifying. That's the next level.
Yes.
Pacifying is the same?
השקטה.
Ashkata. So, by applying remedies to subtle laxity, now you attain the 6th level. And your introspection is fully developed, being fully aware of what's going on at all times. And through your own experience, now you know the faults of scattered thoughts, afflictions, and so forth, and subtle laxity poses no danger. Okay? So subtle laxity there's no danger any longer. Previously you were able to apply the remedy, but now it doesn't pose any danger to the quality of your meditation. Okay? Subtle. Very subtle is still an issue, but subtle no longer. But now you still apply the antidotes to laxity, and that may lead to your mind becoming too invigorated. Okay? You still apply the antidotes to laxity, and now your mind becomes too excited, can become too excited. It kind of reacts in that kind of opposite way, if you like. Mm-hmm. Right? So now there's danger of subtle excitement. first you had coarse excitement. During the first 3 levels, it was excitement, if any excitement, was coarser type. Then it was coarser laxity. Got rid of that. Then subtle laxity. And now, because you apply the antidotes to subtle laxity strong enough, now subtle excitement becomes an issue again. Right? The mind becomes invigorated. It's funny how the mind works, goes from one extreme to the next. But on this level, now there's danger of subtle excitement, which takes you to 7, thoroughly pacifying. See?
השקטה מלאה,
Fully pacifying, fully, yeah. So how do you reach the 7th level? Well, by applying the remedies to subtle excitement. Okay? Subtle excitement. And at this point, there's no longer any danger that you come under the control of laxity and excitement. No longer. You apply the antidote to subtle excitement. Subtle laxity already you controlled before. Now there's no longer any danger that you come under the control of laxity or excitement. And you develop a type of effort. You have now a type of effort, a type of joyous effort, a joyous exertion that is so strong now that you can totally stop laxity and excitement, so they cannot damage your concentration. They can only slightly disrupt it, but not damage it. Okay? So slightly disrupt, but not damage, as in like hinder you from stability, intensity to the degree before. Does that make sense? Great. Now, 8. Making the mind one-pointed.
מיקוד. Mikud is like just
one-pointed.
1 point.
Okay. So in Tibetan it kind of means making the mind like that. Making the mind. Doing that. But okay, being one-pointed. Alright. Now your effort has fully matured. So, at the beginning of your session, you apply mindfulness and introspection, and then you don't need to do anything more. Only at the very beginning, you apply mindfulness and introspection, and then the mind remains devoid of laxity and excitement. There's no longer subtle excitement, subtle laxity, no interruption at all. You remain with the object, and you're able to meditate without disruption the entire session. Only at the beginning you need
Without an effort.
Without an effort. Only in the beginning you need to apply briefly mindfulness and introspection. Just briefly, look at your mind, keep on the object, and then it's almost like you push like a domino stone, and then just on its own it keeps pushing over, right? So it just does its own thing. No need to check during the session whether laxity or excitement are present. You're done. You're okay. So you push, you make the first push, and now you're able to stay one-pointedly on the object. But you still have to make sure that you do not lose the intensely clear mode of focusing on the object. So it's like there's no longer an effort, but still a bit of intensity needs to be there. But it's not mindfulness, it's not introspection, but it's just the sense of like the intensity should not go, right? And that was from the beginning. It was because of the mindfulness and the forgetfulness, that was basically pushed in that direction. And then you have number 9. Number 9 is just directing the mind towards the object. You don't need at the beginning mindfulness. You don't need introspection at all. Just the wish to set the mind on the object. There you are. Stay on the object. So the only thing you need to do now is make sure you don't apply the antidotes. Because this could be due to the habit from before, always applying them, mindfulness and introspection. You could do that. Now you need to refrain yourself from doing it. So this is just before calm abiding. Now, what's the name? It's called setting the mind, or placing in equipoise. Placing the mind in the absorption, the meditative absorption. Placing them, so it says placing in meditative absorption. The word is really placing in equipoise.
You wrote your meditation on samadhi. This is what you wrote. Medita samadhi, meditation on samadhi. This is.
Anyway, never mind. That's the meaning of it. That's fine. You still meditate on samadhi, I guess. Like you've become the closest to shamatha. But now, what you don't have yet. So now there's still some work left. There's still 6 things you have to do, which actually happen naturally. They kind of happen naturally. So now your mind is like think. You can focus for 4 hours. You can focus for 4 hours. You want to meditate, your mind goes in a meditation, and you can go on. Right? Amazing. But there's still something missing. There's something...
Meditation in samadhi, not on samadhi, sorry.
In samadhi.
It's samadhi.
Then it's more the equipoise.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
it's my mistake.
No, it's okay. So, now, there's still something missing. To reach karma abiding, you need a special physical and mental pliancy. A special physical and mental pliancy. Now, what is the opposite of a special physical and mental pliancy? When we meditate, we lack physical pliancy, physical flexibility, which means, it feels so heavy. It feels like I can't, man, this pain, that pain, right? So our body feels heavy. It lacks lightness. We all know this. That is just because of the absence of coarse, not the special pliancy, special physical pliancy. It's just a normal physical pliancy that's missing. But now you try to get a flexibility of your body, which is not yet there, that makes your body feel as light as a feather while you're staying there for 4 hours. The energy winds in your body, they flow smoothly. You need to reach that level where there's no longer any physical effort. You could just sit on for hours. The energy, a lot of the pain we have in our body is because of blocked energy. Sometimes there's no reason for having this pain. I mean, most of the pain is really interesting how once I twisted my ankle, and a friend of mine who does this treatment where she works with the energy, as in like kind of Thai massage type of massage, and she said, and I couldn't walk, I was in so much pain, and she gave me this treatment, and she said the energy is totally blocked, and when I was done I could walk. I could walk for a few hours, and then of course the blockage came back because of the injury. But it's basically all our, and she did this for a few days, but after 5 days I could walk properly. Otherwise, if I twisted my ankle without that, I would have not been able to walk for 2 or 3 weeks. So, of course, a lot of the injuries in our body, there's pain because there's an injury. But through this meditation, you can actually undo all the blockages and not experience pain and not hurt yourself. Because if you just sit through the blockage and you can actually hurt yourself. But this is what you reach when you reach this level of meditative stability. You don't even have to make an effort. It comes naturally. You keep doing what you're doing effortlessly. You're meditating, and then what you have first, they talk about before you. To complete my sentence. So you keep doing what you're doing in order to get this special physical pliancy, but also a special mental pliancy, where your mind feels totally light. There's no heaviness, no sense of heaviness. It's like the mind is very light, extremely light. Body and mind become extremely light. Only when you have reached that lightness of body and mind, this flexibility, they call it like a serviceability of mind and body, that you can do anything with your mind from now on. It's like whatever you do, it's spontaneous and effortless, very light. Physically, it's the same thing, especially when you sit down to meditate. So this will now arise naturally. And once you have it, you have karma abiding. But there are some steps that happen that you might find interesting. So, number 1, there's a kind of a sign that pliancy will arise. They say there's a sign. So this is meditators talking about their experience. There's a tingling. Your brain feels slightly heavy just before